Welcome to Business Matters. Once again, we will be continuing the 2022 Principles of Accounts past paper 1. Now, I want to say this quickly, that we believe that in sharing as much explanation to the question will help you to understand how the questions are structured and how to interpret the question. We want to do much more than just give you the answer. We want to be able to help you to reason out the question, develop the skills of reasoning out the questions, and to be able to diagnose what the question is asking so that you can determine the appropriate answer. So let's go right into it, to the second half of the Principles of Accounts paper 1, 2022 questions. So now we're at question 31. The following information relates to a privately managed charity. Now, in this question, they are asking what is the charity's accumulated fund at the end of the year. Now, how do we approach this question? So they are really asking, what is the closing capital? Yes, what is the closing capital figure for the business? That's the question they're asking. So now they gave us the opening capital. Remember, accumulative fund is the term used in non-profit organization for capital. So now we will look at the items that they have provided for us. They have provided operating expenses, income from barbecue, and income from donations, and income from garage sales. So what is the approach? We're going to add all the incomes and we're going to subtract the operating expenses from it. And that answer we will add it to the opening accumulated fund or the capital, and that will give us the correct figure for the question. So question 31, answer is B, 11,000. So when you add all the income, that is 5,000, that is, and the 1,000 and the 3,000, it's going to be 9,000. Take the 1 from the 1,000 operating expense from the 9,000. What are we going to get? 8,000. When we add 8 to 3,000, which is the opening accumulative fund, then we will have 11,000. So the answer is B, 11,000. Item 32 says, the item 32 refers to the following balances taken from the books of Sheridas Limited as at the 31st of April 2020. Now, what do they want? They want us to find working capital. How do we find working capital again? We subtract the total current liability from the total current asset. So we look for the items relating to all the current assets and we add them together. That is the cash, the prepayment, the prepaid insurance. All right. Those would be the two current assets. We add them together and we'll get 3,800. Then rent owing, creditors, and bank overdraft would be the current liability. So we're going to add all of that together and we're subtracting from the total current asset, and our answer for that question is A, 2,000. The answer is 2,000. Item 33 refers to the following information pertaining to the financial year of business. Now, they are asking us to find the amount of joins. What the amount of joins is, and we are going to know in this question, they're asking you to find the joins. So we always operate by going backwards instead of to get the answer. So first, we are going to add the opening capital with the additional capital, and then we will also add the net profit. All of those three items will be added. The opening capital, the additional capital, and the net profit. All three items will be added. You subtract now the closing capital from the total you have received, and that would give you the joins. And so the answer for question 33 is C, which is $30,000. So answer is C, $30,000. Question, we should be at what now? Question 30, we have done, yes, so question 34. Question 34 says, Peter Simit worked for 44 hours, yes, last week. The rate of $3.50, sorry, the rates are $3.50 per hour for a 40-hour work week and time and a half for overtime. What is his gross income? What are we going to do? He's working 44 hours. So the first 40 hours, we're going to multiply that by the $3.50. And then we will find time and a half, which is going to be half of $3.50, which is going to be $1.75. So you add the $1.75 to the $3.50, and you get a total that you will now multiply by 4 to get the overtime figure. Now the answer for this question, question 34, is C, $161. So his gross income would be $161. How did we get that again? We are going to multiply the first 40 hours times the $3.50, and we get a figure there. And then the second thing we're going to do is that we're going to find the time and a half rate. To do that, it will be half of the $3.50, which is going to be $1.75. $1.75 is going to be added to $3.50, and then you multiply that by 4, the overtime, the 4 hours overtime, and you add the two totals to give you the total gross income. All right? We move now down to question 35. A company's rent account had an opening debit balance of $2,000. During the year, $6,000 was paid for rent. At the end of the year, there was a closing debit balance of $1,500 in the account. The question is, what was the rent expense recorded for the year? Now, this is really dealing with an accrued arrangement, yes, accrued process. So they're saying that the rent account had a balance, an opening balance of $2,000. So rent account have an opening balance of $20, right? $2,000, beg your pardon. And so we're going to add the 2,000 with the 6,000, then subtract the 150 from it, and our answer will be for question 35 is B, $6,500. So the answer for question 35 is $6,500, which is B. So now we're at item 36. If cash sales were not entered in the books, this would be an error of, the most appropriate answer would be A, omission. Why? Because you have failed to enter. They're saying a particular transaction that should have been recorded was not recorded, so it was omitted from the book, so it's an error of omission. Item 37 says, which of the following table shows the balances of the asset account of the Payroll Club as at the 30th of June 2021? Now they're asking us to find the accumulated fund. Remember what we said earlier? Accumulated fund represent the same thing as capital. So what should we do here? We're going to identify all the assets, add them together, yes, and if there's any liability, we subtract it. But upon examining this question, premises, equipment, furniture, cash at bank, and inventory are all assets. So you're simply going to just add all of these assets, and that the total you get would be the accumulated fund. Why? Because the accounting equation used here would be asset is equal to capital. All the asset is equal to the capital or the accumulated fund. So for item 37, your answer is D, $9,897. We're now at item 38 and 39, and they say refers to the following table, which shows the traders operating at the end of the trading period. Now, what they have given to us here is information relating to the horizontal format of the trading account. Now, we are asked to determine what is the cost of goods sold. How do we find cost of goods sold? It is our opening inventory plus the purchases, subtracting the return or purchases return, and we're also going to be subtracting the closing inventory. When we do that, our answer is B, 50,650. What did we do? We add the opening inventory, the inventory at start, with the purchases, subtract the purchases return, and we also subtract the inventory at the close. And our answer that we have received for question 38 is B. For question 39, we're using the same scenario up here, and they're asking us to find what is the gross profit. What are we going to do? Subtract the gross profit from the net sales. How do we get net sales? We subtract the sales return that is in the question from the sales to get the net sales, and then we'll take the cost of goods sold that we have just found from the net sales, and we will get our gross profit. Now the answer is A. Answer for 39 is A, 31,645. Item 40. It says Mr. A. Jones paid $250 in cash for repairs to machinery. This transaction was entered in the cash book and posted to the ledger. The double entry involved would be, all right, now let's look at the original transaction. Mr. A. Jones paid what now? $250 cash for repairs to machine. So what is he paying? He's paying cash. Why is he paying it? For repairs. So the two accounts affected would be cash and repairs. Repairs of the machinery repairs account. So we would debit the repairs account and credit the cash book. Which of the response gives us that answer for question 40? C. We are debiting repairs and credit the cash book. Item 41 refers to the following table, and they ask us what is the value of the inventory. Now, what we're going to be doing is simply multiplying across. We're going to multiply the number of units by the unit price for each, and then we'll get the total, right? So when you do that, 60 times 100, which will be 6,000, yes. Then 80 times 100 will be 8,000 rather. And you'd multiply across 50 times 84 and 75 times 84. And then you add the total of each that you have received. That is for item 41, and the answer is D. D is the most appropriate answer, 24,500. 42. Mr. Miguel's capital on the 1st of January was 40,000, and on the 31st of December, $85,000. He withdrew $1,000 in the inventory during the year. So first, beginning the year, his capital is 40,000. At the end of the year, his capital is 80,000. He withdrew $1,000. The question is, what is his profit? So what should we do to find that now? Okay, the first thing we are going to do is that we're going to add what we used to subtract and subtract what we used to add. So we're going to start with the 85,000 and we're going to add the 1,000. We used to subtract it, we're going to add it. We're going to add it to the 85,000 to give us 86. Then we take the 40,000 from the 86. And the answer that we have received is B, which is $46. $46,000. All right. Item 43. X, W, X, Y, and Z are partners sharing profits and losses in proportion to their capital. The capital of each partner is shown below. Now, they're asking us what is Z's capital share of the profit rather. What would be Z's or Z's share of the profit of $7,200? How would we do that? Well, we're going to use their capital ratio. Everybody knows how to do capital ratio? Well, we're going to look at the capital and we're going to break down the figures so that we can get in the smallest denominator, and then we are going to use it as the ratio to find the profit. So if we take, there's common to all of them are the zeros. So we will strike out all the zeros that is there on their capital, and then we'll have 2, 3, 1, 3. Yes? When we add all of that, 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3 plus 3, that's going to give us 9. So for Z, it's going to be 3 over 9 times 7,200. Yes? And our answer for question 43 is A, right? 2,400. So the profit that Z would get is 2,400. All right? Question 44. Which of the following accounts shows how profits and losses are shared among partners? All right. Being exposed to partnership accounts, you would know that it is the appropriation account that is used to show how the monies are going to be distributed among the partners. So B is the appropriate answer. Item 45. Which of the following items are examples of current liability? All right, current liability. All right, we know then one is mortgage. Mortgage is long-term liability. Accounts payable and accrued wages would be the two items. So it is 2 and 3. So the answer is C. All right, let's move on. Question 46. Which of the following entries in the 3-column cash book are contra entries? And the answer is A. You debit cash and credit bank. Now there's a trick to the other options. You will see they say debit and credit. That is not double entry. You always have a debit and then a credit. So A is the most appropriate answer for question 46. Debiting cash and crediting bank. That is the most appropriate one. Item 47. Item 47 is saying that K-Con, a debtor of A and B Enterprise, settles his debt of $120 less a discount of $3 by check. How should the double entry be recorded in the books of A and B Enterprise? All right, first thing first, let's look at what the transaction is asking of us, or is telling us. K-Con, yes, is our debtor, and he has a debt of 1,000. He's settling his debt of 1,000 Sorry, $120. Sorry about that. $120. All right. And he's getting a discount of $3. So he would be paying, the debtor will be paying. So you are crediting the debtor and you're going to debit the bank, yes, as well as the discount. So you're crediting the debtor, you're going to debit the bank, and we're receiving the money in the form of check. So let's look at the transaction to see which one would be most accurate. And we come down to C, which says we're going to debit the bank, yes, debit discount, of course, and then we're going to credit Kang because we're closing our business with Kang, right? In closing off the account. Kang's account would have carried an opening balance on the debit side. So now that he's paying, he's giving, so you credit it. Question 48. According to the Partnership Act, if there is no deed of partnership, then the amount of profit to be received by each partner would be, and the answer is A, they would have to share it equally. Profit have to be shared equally if there's no partnership deed. Let's go to 49. Item 49 says, what is the inventory at the end of January? So what are we going to do now? What is the closing inventory then? So we're going to determine the closing stock or the closing inventory. Again, we're going to operate going backward. Add what we used to subtract and subtract what we used to add. So we will add the opening inventory with the purchases for the month and then subtract it from the cost of goods sold, and that will give us the closing figure for question 49, the closing inventory, which is D, 1,300. So the answer for question 49 is 1,300. Item 50. Item 50 says Rose contributed $7,000 in cash Rose contributed $7,000 in cash and a motor vehicle worth $3,000 to a partnership. Now, Rose contribution to the partnership would be recorded in the journal as, so what is he contributing? $7,000 cash and motor vehicle at $3,000. So the partnership is receiving the cash and the motor vehicle. So we are going to debit the cash account and the motor vehicle account. So the answer for this question would be, for item 50, would be C. We're debiting cash and we're debiting the motor vehicle, and then we're going to credit the capital for Rose. So C is the appropriate answer. Item 51. Now, when a company declares a dividend of 15%, the dividend warrant of a shareholder owning $1,500 ordinary shares is, so they want to know how much dividend would the shareholder receive if he owns $1,501 shares, if they're paying out dividends of 15%. So what you're going to do is simplifying 15% of the $1,500, and that will give you the answer for question 51, which will be $225 would be the dividend that the shareholder would receive. Item 52, a photocopying machine valued at $5,000 is depreciated at 10% using the straight line method. What is its book value after 2 years? All right, so with the straight line method, we know that we find percentage on the cost of the asset. So it is 10% of the 5,000, which will be 500. Now, the same amount that we charge in the first year is the same amount of depreciation we'll charge for as long as we are using the straight line method and holding that asset. So, 5,000, and they're asking us after 2 years, what is the book value after 2 years? So, for 2 years, we would have depreciation totaling 1,000. When we subtract the 1,000 for the total depreciation from the cost of the asset, which is 5,000, we're going to get what? 4,000. So the answer is A. A is the appropriate answer for question 52, which is 4,000. All right. Item 53 says an increase in the provision for doubtful debt would be, all right, from the options presented here, item 53, it would be D. Once the provision is increasing, then you're going to charge it under the expense. You're going to charge it in the income statement as an expense, or the profit and loss account as an expense. So D would be, once the provision for doubtful debt increases, then it becomes an expense and you will charge it in the profit and loss. So D is the appropriate answer. Item 54, what is the maximum capital a company can raise from selling shares to the public? And the answer is C. Why? Because in the memorandum of association, yes, the company will establish the maximum amount of capital that they would need to operate the business, and it's what we call the authorized share. So the answer is C. Item 55. Item 55, which of the following entries would not appear in the cash book? And 55, we're saying it is B, right? Cash book has to do with cash and check transaction. B is talking about a credit transaction, goods sold and credit. So B is the answer. 56, which of the following will result when opening inventories of raw materials are added to the purchases of raw material? And the answer for question 56 is D, the raw materials available for use. All right, let's go on. 57 refers to the following balances. Item 57 refers to the following balances taken from the books of Sheridas Limited at the 30th of April 2022. All right, they're asking us to find the current ratio. How do we do that? We divide the current liability into total current asset. And our answer is C, 2.1 to the ratio of 1. All right, so that's the answer how we'll get the 2.1. We look for all of the current liability, add them together, all the current asset, and add them together as well. Moving on. Item 58, which of the following items is not considered a source document for payroll? And our answer would be medical certificate. That is not something they collect information. Item 59, the standing order of $25 for insurance appear in the debit column of the bank statement. This amount does not appear in the cash book. All right, once they say it has not appeared in the cash book, then standing order is normally a cost that you are paying the bank. So it's going to be credited. So we're going to credit the bank account. The answer is A. We credit the bank account with the 25. All right, let's move on to, so item 60 give us manufacturing account, and it is asking us to find what is the cost of raw material consumed. Looking at the item, it would be 3,900, right? 3,900. And 3,900, that would be C. All right, that is the cost of raw material consumed. So the answer would be C. Thank you very much for sharing with us.